You see that? Yeah. Yeah, great. So we have Tawny Martin has brought some of her students from her computer science class. And I think you were here, how many years ago was that now? A little more than 2. And she and I spoke in the fall earlier and she said, I really want to come back and show the board what these kids are able to do. It's just amazing. And she's grown that program so much. And we have to also acknowledge, I want to acknowledge on the March action sheet for HR, we saw Tawny's retirement notice. So I want to make sure that we acknowledge her today. She's been an outstanding employee for us and really took on this computer science thing like late in her career thinking, what am I doing? And it's turned out to be such a wonderful program and she's done such a great job. And you'll see that in her kids today. So with that, Tawny, I'm gonna turn it over to you. The program's yours. Tawny, we use the mic just because people online, can you use your mic? It should be, there you go. Perfect. Nope, no rewind. Is it green?
Okay, so I'm
Perfect, there you go.
So Penny, what Penny discovered was that our district was a little bit behind, that our kids were at a disadvantage when they got out of high school because they were not with some of their contemporaries as far as coding at an early age. I think we did some of the basic block coding, but in robotics and some of our earlier courses, but we did not have full out line coding. And so she wanted to make our kids marketable when they get out of high school, whether they go straight into the workforce or go to college. And I just think she did a really good job picking a program. She wrote a grant. Very thankful for her support. And I also want to say our tech department has been fantastic. I mean, I could not do what I do without Greg and his people. They're just so good to me, and I'm just so thankful for them. And so they do it just a really good job. Okay, so we're going to start with Julie Gomez, and what I'm just going to kind of introduce them first and let them go down the line. Julie is going to share a program, tell a little bit about it, then we're going to run it, and then she might share a little bit more, and then Taylor's going to do the same thing. We're going to share a program, run it, and then she'll share a little bit more about it as well. And then I'll get to these 2 gentlemen here in a little bit. Okay, so Julie, come on up.
Hi, I'm Juliana, but you guys can call me Julie. And I'm going to be showing you guys one of our last 7th grade assignments called Choosing Hat. The Choosing Hat mimics the starting hat from Harry Potter. In Harry Potter, new students are sent to a school for wizardry and magic and are started into houses or like dorms using the starting hat. This program would represent a coded program the hat would run on. Ms. Martin's going to run the code and demonstrate our school board members being placed into their house.
So you got your pointer? I want you to come over there for a second. I'm going to run this. So did anybody need a summary on that? Everybody here okay? So we're going to pretend that our school board members are being placed in a house, just like on Harry Potter. Okay, so I'm going to put Mr. Jeff Hartwick. And you got sorted into Bear Paw for your smarts. Jamie Morford. Into Ravenhorn for your optimism. Joe Catron. Into Stormhoof, because you're a leader. And Sarah Michael. Stormhoof, because of your teamwork. Mr. Peters, we got you here as well. Mr. Peters. Ravenhorn, because of your responsibility. And then I want to put up her code so you guys can see her code. Okay, so you tell me what to do here. Okay?
For us, random assignments, we first have to import a Python library called random as seen on line 8. Then as you can see on line 36, it shows how the program gives the user a random number 1 through 4, and then we store that number into the variable. And because there are 4 different possible houses, there's a conditional coded for each number when it appears on screen. Lines 39 through 42 show lines 39 through 42 show bear paw. Lines 53 to 56 show raven. Lines 67 through 70 show Draconia, and then lines 81 through 84 show Stormhoof. Then I used a nested conditional, which is called stair steps, to give a reason for why a person was placed into their turn. We call them stair steps because we can create a conditional inside a conditional. We use a different amount of tabs, making them look sort of like. We then generate another random number and save it to the word reason as seen on line 43. And lines 43, 46, 48, and 50 show how we use the random library to assign the user to the reason they're starting. As you can see on line 44 through 51, the reasons starting to verify were courage, smart, kindness, and helpfulness. I also use different reasons for each.
Wow, very cool. Chris, you got that?
Okay, Selah and 8th grade.
After learning how to draw with shapes and colors, the really challenging part was learning how to, the really challenging part was applying, After learning how to draw with shapes and colors, the really challenging part was learning how to move things, how to move objects, okay. So after learning how to draw with shapes and colors, the really challenging part was learning how to move objects. We learned loops, code that makes information repeat in 7th grade, but in 8th grade, we applied those loops to graphics. So yes, there are many ways to make objects animate, but in the program I'm going to demonstrate increments the ball's midpoint every frame, as you can see on line 40. Okay. The blue while is an indicator of a loop. So lines 49 or 46 and 49 show the ball being incremented at the midpoint every frame. So as you will see in just a moment, the ball will move to the right, but as the ball moves to the right, I had to decrease the size of the bounce so that it looks realistic like a bounce. So as you saw, the ball had to decrease the size of the bounce each time with more and more of a decrease, so the ball looked like it was bouncing. You can see this right here on line 70. And the ball had to be the ball had to be multiplied by -1 to switch direction each time so that it wasn't just going straight across the board. So also to make the ceiling decrease, we had to multiply by a half. You can see this on line 80. Oh, on line 64.
Got that.
All right, so I'm going to let Miles come up because he's going to run this next part. And I want to talk a little bit about these gentlemen first. So Miles, ready? Then Mike, second. So I would like to call this next part To Infinity and Beyond. And so, you know, I knew kids would experiment a little bit with XSmart, but I did not expect it to, you know, grow exponentially like it did with these two young men. So I just kind of want to show you what I saw in my classroom. So there was one day in September that I asked the kids to draw an eyeball because we just got done drawing, making shapes. And he did, but then the next thing you know, he made it blink. That's very cool. And then Taylor one day in class on her own made a Pinocchio figure that made his nose grow as it looped. That was pretty cool. I showed the kids in October, the movie War Games. And there's a scene in there where this nuclear warhead is looking for these codes so it can launch these missiles and take out half of mankind. And then the next week, Martin comes to school and he shows me that he made these looping. It was amazing. He came up with the code right from the movie, and then just went from there. But he started making his own tic-tac-toe game. She made a graphic of a duck that was quacking. He started on his 2,000 lines, tiny, of his Minesweeper code. He starts his Connect 4 game. He goes from 2,000 to 4,000 lines. He makes this beautiful Easter game for kids where kids are finding these Easter eggs on this beautiful landscape and the sunshine is counting the numbers. And it was just so cool. Meanwhile, his 9,000 lines go to 20,000 lines. He finishes his Connect 4 game and his code right now is up to, he's pushing 40,000 lines of code on his Minesweeper. Okay, so I'm going to sit down and let these guys run the rest of the show. So Miles is going to go first and show you, one more disclaimer. I told these kids they had to run the programs fast because they're a little bit competitive and they don't like to lose, but somebody's going to have to lose quickly. So just know that they're probably, one of them is going to lose before their time. You know that, okay?
Okay, so this is Connect 4, and how you play the game is you drop a little disc into each column and you try to get 4 in a row. And this can be either up and down, side to side, or diagonally. So right here we have Connect 4, and you want to play with me? I'll go right here. Okay, so when I win, I'm gonna go right here. And then when I win, it highlights which ones, and then it says red wins right at the top right there. And I had a lot of fun coding this. I think it's pretty cool. And this part right here, specifically right here, this is the part that highlights the discs when you win, when it says when you get 4 in a row. And this is a part where I had probably the most trouble thinking about how I could do it. But yeah, but I'm done. I just had a lot of fun coding this.
So that was Miles Longmire, and then finish up with.
So I made Minesweeper, and the goal of the game is to reveal, there's a certain amount of bombs, and when you reveal a tile, there's numbers, and that number indicates how many of the tiles around it have a bomb on them. And the goal of the game is to reveal of the tiles that aren't bombs. So you start out, and if it's blank, then it reveals, that means there's no bombs around it, which means all the tiles are safe, and it reveals adjacent tiles. And then this one means that out of the 8 tiles around it, one of them is bomb, so I know that this is bomb, and I can flag it. And then that means that tile is safe because there's only 1 bomb around it. And that's basically it. And it's a really big playing field, and it can take a long time to finish, so I'm just gonna lose, and when you lose, it resets by itself, and then you can play again. And probably the most challenging part I had with this version was this part of the code. It's quite long and repetitive, but it was trying to draw the tiles in the correct places with the correct colors for each tile because they were alternating, and it took a long time just to switch everything so it would work correctly.
That was amazing. You guys have questions?
My mouth's hitting the floor here.
You wanted to know specifically about line 73, right?
Yeah, 73, yeah.
Well, normally we can ask questions, about what you guys are doing. It is so far over my head, but it's so impressive, and I'm so proud of you guys for even presenting the way you did. I know that's a little bit different being in front of a group of adults like that. You should be proud of the presentation, but also the work is fantastic. You can really see some steps there. So good job, guys.
Yeah.
Talk about hands-on practical learning. I mean, it's filled with all of the academic basics, math, reading, logic, figuring stuff out, and that probably doesn't even enter your mind. You're just challenged by trying to figure out the code. Was some of it trial and error? You had to go, oh, let's try this and see what happens. Was there some of that? A lot of that? Okay. How long would you say it takes to write a program like that? Really? But during your class time, computer class, then 3 weeks worth of class time. Wow.
So then is
Very-
this something
very
you guys want
impressive.
to take beyond middle school and high school and maybe even career type stuff is what you're hoping? Cool. Good.
Yeah, parents in the audience are looking to be supported someday by your.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. That's great.
You guys are in middle school.
I know we got to bump the high school classes up for these guys now.
That's crazy. Yeah, I mean, so impressive. I'm just amazed. And Ms. Martin, thank you for leading the class and developing the whole curriculum, because it's obvious that there's demand and interest, and now we've got skilled students that are on a pathway to amazing things. That's awesome.
Thank you guys for coming today.
Thank
We
you so
really
much.
appreciate it. And as always, you are welcome to leave.
Or you're welcome to stay.
Or you're welcome to stay. I mean, we know which, that was in the negative. I should have said positive, right? Norma's here.
That's, wow. Yeah. Wow, what a wonderful, wonderful way to start the meeting.
Definitely.
So it's very impressive. So we'll move on now to, next item on the agenda is suggestions or comments from the audience. So if there's anyone here tonight that wishes to address the board, now's your chance. Okay, we'll move on then. Number 4, we have meeting minutes because we have had a lot of meetings lately for an obvious reason. And so we've got our minutes from all of our special and regular meetings, many of them executive sessions, other public. And so we've had a chance to review those. Tiara, thank you so much for capturing all that and documenting all of the accurate information on each one of these. That's a lot of work in a short amount of time. So we've got a lot of meeting minutes here, and I will just move that we approve the meeting minutes as submitted. Any discussion or comments by anyone? All right, let's vote. All those in favor, please indicate with an eye.
Aye.
Opposed? Right, Dan. Opposed? Okay, that passes. Move on to number 5 then is our consent agenda. There's several items here. HR action sheet. Let's start there. What a bittersweet couple of entries here.
Mhm.
But I will ask Chris if you want to make a comment or two. Yes.
Yes, I'll come back to the Essar quick highlight on where we're at with retirement.
Okay.
So, classified, we have 6 retirements. Departing. Which is not unusual. Civic unit, retirements. So 6 total for our certs. We have about 15 openings right now on our certificate side of the process. An outstanding job getting posted. Any process. Also, so we have about 15 cert openings right now and about 10 classified, but we're also in a somewhat of a reduction mode with both certificated and classified through attrition, hopefully. You'll see later in the agenda, we have a recommendation to adopt a RIF resolution in case we do have to enforce reduction in force, but hopefully we will be able to do what we need to do through attrition. So that gives you a highlight of what's happening on the attrition side of things. In the HR action tonight, sad to see one person listed on the list here, sitting next to me, Shane Backlund, is official on the list. Exciting for us, as we also have Kevin McKay on the agenda, HR action for approval tonight. So a couple big ones there on the HR action tonight. We also have a few different ones. Tara, we just noticed on the resignations for classified, we do have 3 teachers that we need to move down. You probably already noticed that. She's already fixed it. She's awesome. That's a rarity that we ever find anything that you miss. So otherwise, I think everything's pretty straightforward there. Any questions on the HR action?
Well, no questions, but an observation, you know, it is a bittersweet situation. We're losing Shane, but what minimizes that blow a little bit is that we're picking up a great replacement for superintendent. And so that helps a little bit. And I guess the other thing to mention here is I see one Backlund leaving and one Backlund coming in. So I don't know whether you guys just can't be in the same place at the same time or.
Yeah, so Emily did interview last week for the high school English job, freshman English, and I completely obviously stayed out of it. And I told her when she graduated from college, she really wanted to come to Selah. And I said, as long as I'm superintendent, I'd rather you teach somewhere else. So she's been in Selah the last 2 years, but she interviewed last Friday and was offered the job. So I'm proud of her. So, you know, and also she's married now, but she has not changed her name officially yet. So we've got to bug her about that. So anyway, but yeah, I'm excited for.
Well, congratulations to her and welcome. Yeah. Good. Good. Thanks, Chris, for the update on where we are. Sounds like we're pretty.
Let me just quickly jump in if that's okay. I wanted to congratulate a guy I went to school with, Ken Mazingo, for an incredible career as a wrestling coach, going out in I think his best season ever. So great job, Kenny.
Yeah, he's a guy that's made a difference in a lot of students' lives. So that was a good call, Dan. Yeah, he's great for us.
Thanks, Dan. I missed that one. That is exactly right. He's just done a wonderful job for our wrestling program. Also in the payroll goods and services, it's always exciting to see money spent from the district side on professional development. And this highlight I'll ask Alicia to do on our dual language program. So it's pretty exciting. So go ahead, Alicia.
Yeah, so something that's been the work that the leadership team has been doing for dual is ensuring that our teachers in that program have sufficient professional learning. Through the course of COVID, there wasn't a lot of professional learning opportunities. Things were shut down or it was remote. And so the leadership team this year has really been looking at how do we provide robust professional learning for our teachers to keep them in the district. So what you see on this one is the start of that. We're going to start with an academy right after school gets out. And usually we'll have a 3-year plan, but we're backfilling. So there's a lot of year 1 and year 2 and year 3 that'll be happening over the course of the next 2 years. But then after that, it'll be new hires. This is the professional learning you'll have as you progress to year 2 and year 3, that we'll have that already in the plan and it's already going to be provided to staff. So this is the start of that. So it's great to see that we're starting that work. And I know that it's been needed and it came from the field that they really wanted to have a 3-year plan.
Good idea. Really good idea.
Alicia. Anything else? And okay, so you want to, do you have any questions on the student overnight field trip request? Okay, I was going to jump to the gift and
No, it
donate.
looks like we've got vet and food science FFA state competition coming up. Nice to see that we're able to attend some of these kind of events again. And then a pair of FCCLA trips, one for some training in Tukwila and then to nationals in July in San Diego.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. I have no questions about it.
I just want to add that we had some national competitions recently that the students did very well in, but in our June meeting, we'll honor and recognize those students.
Oh,
So
nice.
yeah, because we had some students they placed fourth nationally,
Nationally?
yeah.
Outstanding, yeah.
But we have potential for more. So in June, we'll have them all there.
That's great. Look forward to that. Yeah, no questions there on that? Nope.
Okay.
Okay, and then I guess the last thing in the consent agenda is a gift or donation from Wilbur Rep Estate. And I know this is, another donation from Wilbur Rep's estate, but maybe Chris, you could fill us in a little more about this one.
So a couple years ago, I got a call from a gentleman by the name of Wilbur Rep, and he was terminally ill. And his interest was to leave a good portion of his estate to Selah School District and also a district on the west side. And I'm losing the name of the other district, Kent School District. He was a teacher for a long time, middle school teacher for years, and he wanted to give back to the school district. First of all, he grew up in Selah, and he actually graduated from Selah High School. And so it was in his interest to support both of those school districts. So a couple of years ago, he passed from cancer. And then then I started getting calls from his sister and also an attorney that was handling his estate. Shortly thereafter, we received a donation of $1.5 million from his estate. And if you'll remember that, we brought that to the board. And then we just received another $1 million from his estate. In talking with Wilbur's sister, she said that we'll probably see another $1 million. And he specifically was interested in donating to a tech center. He wanted to donate towards the construction of a tech center after lots of conversation about how he wanted to support the schools. This is where he landed. He landed on the fact that he wanted to support the construction of this new tech center to benefit thousands of kids going through our system. So in that time frame, just happened that this piece of property came open for sale right adjacent to the high school. And if you'll remember, you authorized the district to buy the piece of property. We've since demoed the buildings on the property, and it's just in a perfect location right there adjacent to the high school. And that's where the site will be for this tech center. I received a call from Nyla Webster, his sister, again last week, and asked what our status was on the project. And I explained to her that we have the other two projects coming up with the renovation of the ELC building, preschool building, and also the transportation cooperative potentially coming following that project. So I told her that in the midst of those getting done, which are anticipated both to be done by October of 2023, if we follow through and build the cooperative center, then we would entertain a plan to look at the potential tech center, which we will build someday. It's just a matter of financing the full project, because as we know, we're not going to be able to build the full tech center on that amount of money, but this is such a substantial donation. It will definitely benefit the school district, and we're looking forward to completing that building sometime in the next few years. So, wow. Any questions?
What an amazing former graduate and dedication to the district. Just so thankful for the Wilbur Rep family and the estate for the contribution. Look forward to the day we can start on the tech center. That'd be great. Maybe the name of the maybe the name of the tech center ought to be the Wilbur Rep Tech Center. Good. Good. Any other questions, comments from anybody? All right, good. Well, those are the items on our consent agenda, so we need to approve those items all in one motion. If there's anyone that would.
I'll move we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Okay, thanks, Jamie. Any other questions, comments from anyone? All right, we'll vote. All those in favor, please indicate with an aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, consent agenda passes. Now we move into item 6, administration, and the first thing on here is our superintendent contract. And so our background, for those that are listening and weren't here when we announced on April 15th. It was a long week and a process of finding the right candidate, and we are happy to say that and very fortunate to have Kevin McKay available to us, and we are so excited about that. And so his contract is in our packet this evening, and we've had a chance to review that. We are delighted that we are going to vote on this tonight and officially welcome Mr. McKay to our district. His term will start on July 1st. And so out of his own time, he is donating his time and efforts in the district already, meeting with people in the district and trying to learn who's who and how things work and get a feel for what's going on. So that on July 1, he can get going and start immediately. So thank you for that donation of time and effort, Kevin. We really do appreciate it. Are there any comments or questions by anyone? Okay, with that in mind, I would entertain a motion.
Move that we approve the superintendent contract extended to Kevin McKay.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the contract. We've had a chance to review that. Any other questions or discussion by anyone? All right, we'll vote. All those in favor of approving the contract, please indicate with an aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that passes. Welcome, Kevin. We are so excited to have you on board as our new superintendent to continue the critical work of the district and the wonderful things that go on here in Selah. And I know you're going to be an awesome leader for us, and we just look forward to working together with you. Can't wait to get started. And so welcome and congratulations and thanks again.
Well, I match your excitement. I am really excited about the opportunity and want to thank you all for this wonderful opportunity and working with you to improve our school district. It has been a bittersweet because Shane and I have known each other for a long time, but Shane's not going too far away as well. And we spent the whole day together today, and I was able to see all the schools and walk through the schools and see some very familiar faces and some very welcoming faces. So very comfortable. And we'll be spending some time over the next 2 weeks meeting individually with people, and then transitioning more as we get closer to July 1st. But my goal has always been, if selected for the position, was to use this time before July 1, get as acquainted as possible, so that when July 1 starts, I'm up to speed and can be supportive of the district right then and there.
Wonderful.
Thank you all.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you. So what class were you in at Selah High School?
I was a 1983 graduate.
83 graduate.
83.
All right.
Things looked a little bit different in 1983.
You still have your letter jacket from 83?
I absolutely have my letter jacket
Okay.
from 83, my diploma from 83, lots of memorabilia.
All right, good, good. Well, we'll expect to see that sometime along the way. Yeah.
It doesn't fit quite as it used to, but it is still there and cared for greatly.
Well,
That's a proud Viking, definitely.
that's awesome. Well, welcome. We're very excited to have you.
Sarah and I were in school at the same time. I was in first grade and she was in second grade. Remember?
Thanks, Jamie. I appreciate that.
He's always there to lend a nice hand. man.
Wow, let the digs begin. My goodness.
I was born in '84, Kevin.
Joe, thanks for throwing that in too, Joe.
Okay. Wow. Oh, nice. Yeah. It's good. It's good. Well, class of 83, that's when I was with Jostens. You bought your cap and gown for me. So thank you very much. I appreciate that. Tell you how old I am.
All right, does anybody else want to say anything about it? Sure. Alicia, Chris, you can't say a whole lot. Again, thank you.
And thank you. So we sincerely look forward to the collaboration and the right relationship and partnership. Yeah, welcome, Kevin. All right, with that, we're adjourned. Oh, wait, no, we got. All right. Next item in administration is a resolution. It's acceptance of building commissioning report on Robert Lentz.
Yes, this is one of the official steps in our process for acceptance of, requiring an acceptance of the commissioning report. It did get delayed a little bit. I've actually reached back out to Brent to talk to him about that, but before you tonight is this resolution that asks for the board's approval of that commissioning report before the official closeout of the project.
And so does this officially release the building to be ours? It's finished the paperwork, is that?
Yes.
Is then?
Yep, we just signed all the paperwork that went to OSPI, and we will be, the retainage through the performance bond will be released to the contractor, and we'll be able to put this one behind us.
Good.
It always takes a little bit of time to get all the releases from DOR and all the places, so.
Well, you had to test it out with a whole bunch of little kids to make sure it was going to work right.
Exactly. We're ready.
Good. All right. Yeah, we need to take action on that. So we need a motion to approve the resolution.
I'll move that we approve resolution 03-22 as presented.
All right, thank you, Sarah. We have a motion. Any other discussion or questions? Okay, we'll vote. All those in favor, please indicate with an eye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that passes. Good. Move on to the next item. It's another resolution on reduced educational program. So Chris or Stephanie on?
Yes, so this is another resolution that we bring before the board every year. By contract, the labor contracts were required to get board approval in advance of any reduction in force. We hope that we can satisfy our reductions through attrition. That's always the goal. But in the end, if we need to enact a reduction in force, we need to have board approval. So you can see there through in the bottom of the first page, you can see estimates that we put up to 2 teachers funded by basic ed or levy and up to 2 teachers in categoricals. We're not anticipating to have to RIF any teachers at this point, but we do need to get board authorization before that point. So, and then on the classified side of things, we've just built capacity for up to 24 hours in basic ed and levy and also 24 hours in categorical programs. So we are needing to reduce more classified, and so we'll see how that pans out. But at this point in time, we're hoping that we don't have to RIF anybody.
So your calculation of these potential is based on enrollment projections going forward.
In our staffing process, we're deep into our staffing process right now with all the buildings. And so each building's working on plans to make reductions through attrition mainly, but in the end, we'll see if we have enough attrition.
Okay, good. So just to restate, we're not making any reductions
Not at this point,
at
no.
this point. This is just authorizing in the event that.
Yeah, we're making reductions through attrition as we speak. As people leave, we're eliminating certain positions and we're adding in other areas. And in the end, it'll wash out to what we need it to be to balance.
Gotcha. All right. Any other questions by anybody?
We do this every year, this thing.
Yes.
All right, I would entertain a motion then.
I'll move to accept resolution 04-22.
Thank you, Joe. Any other questions or discussion? All right, we'll vote. All those in favor, please indicate with an eye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that passes. Next item is school board meeting dates. We had this on our agenda a month ago and we tabled it to think a little bit more about it. And so we need to adopt next year's board schedule. And so it's back on our agenda this month. So,
And also, I did, Kevin and I had an opportunity to talk about this morning too, and I just wanted him to be, I won't be a part of these meetings, he will, so wanted his input on it as well, so
Okay,
We did that this morning.
good. Kevin, do you have any observations or thoughts about what you're seeing here?
Well, obviously that I like the way that you put it together. If it works for you as the board, that's probably most important. If it works for you and fits into your schedule, and that's in the best interest of you and your responsibilities to your careers, your family, and to the board, then if that's it, then that definitely has my support. I am not used to meetings obviously in the morning or in the afternoon. Very traditional, and both the districts have worked out in the past. They're always at the same time later in the evening. I'm not sure that the time, if the idea was to hope to include more public into the meetings, I don't think there's been any research or study that shows that one particular time is better for public or not. So if people feel like they want to attend a board meeting, then most of the time they'll find a way to attend. So I'm really a believer. It's really about the board and what works in the best interest of the board and their responsibilities as well. Whatever you set, probably Shane has probably said this a number of times, it's really up to you, and we support that. Whatever works with you, then obviously we will be here and support that.
Good, thank you, thank you. Yeah, you know, we moved to a 4:30 time, what, a year and a half ago, or 2 years ago, maybe.
I think this is our, 2 years.
We were, ours were at 7 PM as well. And what we found was that at the end of those, it was getting to be, some of those meetings go 2 to 2.5, sometimes 3 hours, and that's late in the day after we've all had a full day, just like everyone else here has. And so we felt to, be more alert, to be more effective as a board, that if we moved it up into a late afternoon time slot, that, that would work best for the board, but then would also be later enough in the day that if the public wanted to attend, that, maybe they can make arrangements, given that we publish this a year in advance. And then the other thing that we haven't had in the past that we have now is the virtual broadcast. So you don't even have to come here. You can, log in wherever you are and join us.
And watch it later.
And what?
And watch it later.
And it's recorded.
Yeah.
So, yeah, exactly. So I hope, nobody thinks we're trying not to include, the public opportunity here. It's not about that at all. It's about, I think, finding a time and a schedule that best fits our effectiveness as a board. And because it is the board's meeting that the public is invited to, that it fits best. So I would advocate to remain at the 4:30 for the business meetings and the 7 AM for our study sessions. So is what we've done the last couple of years. So the business meeting is always at 4:30, and then the study sessions at 7 AM on that other Thursday month.
And 2 quick points that I would make. One is that you adopt a calendar every year, and you always have the opportunity each time of year to look at how the meetings have gone the prior year. This will be our first full year without a pandemic that we will have this schedule. I mean, we moved to the schedule partly because it was during the pandemic. Remember, that was part of it. So I think it's wise to give it a chance to work a year in a more normal format, right? And the second piece that I would add is that in addition to it being a good time for the board to be able to interact and not get tired, it also is a good time for staff. I've received good feedback from staff. You think about the people that come for highlights and things to do reports, they can come directly from their work sites and do those kinds of things, which we do have quite frequently, rather than leaving, going home and coming back. So that's another piece that staff have really enjoyed, that opportunity to be able to just pop in when they have their piece of the meeting.
If we make a commitment, get back to at 7 AM time allows for that.
And any thoughts?
I just have one. I like the schedule that we have as well. I'm planning to vote for the calendar for our board meeting. I'm curious if there's a way to adjust the agenda so that public comment comes later, maybe even at the end of the meeting, so that people who are coming home from work might be able to come and add public comment later in the meeting, which might fit their schedule a little bit
Yeah.
better.
That's a good suggestion, Jen. And just so you know, we did make that adjustment to our policy maybe 2 months ago. The policy actually specifically called out public comment period will be at the beginning of each business meeting. And we just changed that language to the public comment will occur at each business meeting to allow for that flexibility. So now it would match policy to move that where you'd see fit moving forward.
So the details of the agenda and where that would fall on the agenda can be worked out at a later date.
Right.
If we adopt the agenda, the schedule as we have it today with the times, then where the public comment period falls on the agenda can.
Exactly. Yep. There's flexibility in policy for that.
Great suggestion, Dan. Thank you. Good. Any other comments by anyone?
If we were to do a public comment in the second half of the meeting, I'd almost rather have 2 public comment times, because early in the meeting, we've had some full boardrooms that are here for their purpose. They kind of want to give their statement and get out. And then allow us to do the business part of the meeting if they don't want to stick around for it. And then
And there's there's 2 sides to that, Jamie, and I don't disagree with you. Number one, we'd want to make clear in our agendas out when the public comment period is, so it's not that they're coming and waiting, that they know. But the second piece is there is some benefit, and this was something that WASDA actually offered as a best practice, which is to actually put the public comment at the end of the meeting. If you have a topic on the agenda that may be controversial, and people are there to speak to it, if they have not learned about the topic yet or the district's stance on it or what we're doing about it prior to making their public comment, then it's kind of a challenge for them. We can't respond, obviously, but if we're doing a presentation on a topic that may be controversial, at the end, when they provide public comment, they'll be a little bit more informed about what we're doing, and potentially it could change the narrative a little bit. So that's another piece.
Well, let's do this. I'd suggest that we adopt the schedule with the times, and then let's maybe get, you and Kevin and, one other board member together and sort of hash out, okay, what does that or should that look like? And so let's look at doing that before next year and get the details so that we can address the public comment demand and need, right, Joe? And then we'll have the schedule in place. Sound good with everybody?
Yep.
All right, well then, do we need to vote on this, or do we just need to say, yeah, we're good?
We do need to take action on it.
Okay. Well, I'll move then that we adopt this meeting calendar as written. Will remain the same times, 4:30 and 7 a.m. respectively, to the different meetings for the 22-23 school year. So let's vote. All those in favor, please indicate with an aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, that schedule is in place. Okay, we're going to move on to number 7. This is our Executive Director of Student Learning, Ms. Jacob. Welcome.
Hello. So thanks for the opportunity to speak to what's going on from student learning perspective. So one of the things that all the buildings have been working on, and they have through the end of the year, is to have all of our standards in student-friendly language with what the success criteria will be, which is when we think of success criteria, that's how students will demonstrate that they've attained that standard. So across all of our buildings and our content areas, the teachers have been working on that this year. And at the end of the year, we'll have those with the goal to have those on our website as forward-facing for our parents and our community, so that when they want to know what happens in first grade, here's the standards in English language arts, here's the standards in math that we would expect our students to be able to attain as they exit each grade level. So that's been a lot of work that's been going on this year. And we had met as a team earlier this week with the buildings going through and just seeing where they're at, where's there some areas that still need to be shored up. But it's pretty exciting to have that we'll have this preschool through 12th grade look at our content and what we can say as the educational system that we can expect our students to leave with that understanding. So that's been great work that's been going on. And then the other thing is our curriculum adoptions. So we are still deep in the curriculum adoptions, ELA, our English language arts for our secondary or 6th through 12th grade. And we'll be finalizing that next week, and I'll be bringing that to you at the end of the month for a request for new materials. And then we're also working with our PE, health, sex ed, and social emotional learning. That one we started last week. We'll be working on that. That's going to take us through June. So we'll be coming to the June meeting with any requests that we'll have for instructional materials in that one. But we have great staff across all of our buildings. I've been very appreciative with the work that both our teachers and our administrators have been doing with that work. We've been doing release days, we've been doing late nights, and they've been really diving into that work to make sure we have great materials for our students. So I'm excited to be able to bring that to you later in May and also in June.
The success standards, are they, do we have a template that we're starting with and we're building it for Selah from there, or are we starting from, are we creating these ourselves?
Which one was it that you asked?
On the success standards?
Oh, so what the teachers have been doing is, and this started with the prior to even pandemic, is what we would call our essential learnings. And it's kind of like our priorities, right? When we think of our standards, because in any of our content, there's lots of standards that they want us to look at, but really prioritizing those. And so that's what they've been working on, is prioritizing them. But when you read them, they're very technical, right? And so it's, what does that actually mean in terms of what the students are going to be able to do? So they've been taking them and putting them in what we call student-friendly language. And so that our students know, our parents can know, we can know what is it we're expecting our students to be able to do. And then also not just what the standard is, but what does it look like to demonstrate that? And that's what's our success criteria. So in terms of it's the words, right? And so the educator ease that we always have, but yeah, it's not unique to Selah. It's just our goal is to have it, that we can have it and be forward facing on our website. So there's no question. So you want to know what we're doing? Here's what we're doing.
These are Selah standards, not state standards or Common Core from.
No,
back
they're
in
the
day.
state learning standards. What we've done though is put them into student-friendly language, right? So if you go in and you look at what it says from a state standpoint, it's very technical, and it doesn't tell you really what it is that the students will be able to do with that standard. So we've taken the language and tried to make it to where a kindergartner can understand it, or a 12th grader, depending on the standard, which then makes it friendly for our parents as well. Yeah.
Disconnect there, so, but that helps a lot. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Any other questions? Great, thank you.
Good, thank you, Alicia. Good, move on to our Associate Superintendent of District Operations. So Ms. Stucco and Stephanie, if you.
All right, so
You guys are gonna tag team this?
yeah, we're gonna take team. We
As
both like to
always.
jump in. So we have 4 reports for the board this evening. So I think Stephanie's gonna start out with the first 2 and then I'll cover the last 2.
Yeah, so quick update with enrollment. Our enrollment's holding pretty steady, which is great news. This April account, we were 3,597 kids, which is 2 up from last month, bringing our year average, which that's how we're funded, is based on our year average enrollment, to 3,587, which is just 10 under our projected. So that's great news for us. We're pretty close, pretty spot on. So that's good news for budget.
And the other part of that is we're 67 FTE higher than we were last April, a year ago. So overall, our enrollment's starting to recover, which is really nice. Not like some of our our colleagues around the valley. Some of them are still continuing to have a loss in their FTE, and we're starting to come back. So we feel good about that.
Right. And then going on to financial status report for the end of March. March, we're 58% of the way through the school year, and we have received about 54% of our revenues, which is a little slow, but with levy collections coming in April, that should see a jump there, because usually it's October and April that local taxes and all those property taxes are being paid at the county. So we'll see that kind of bump up next month. And then expenditures, we're about 56% through our apportionment or appropriations. Little lagging on our program 58, which is our miscellaneous grants. And we also build a lot of capacity there. So that's to be expected as well. So our ending fund balance for March is about $9.5 million.
Any questions on either the enrollment or the financial status. Bless you, Dan. Okay, no questions? All right, next on our list here is our state audit report. We're very pleased to come to the board tonight and let you know that we had another clean audit. No audit findings. We had a few housekeeping items that we are working on. The one that you'll see on the front page of the audit report is how we classified in fund balance the Wilbur Rep donation. We had it as assigned fund balance, and the auditor said it needed to be restricted fund balance. Not a big deal. Still in the,
Just fell in the
Reserved.
wrong column.
it fell in the wrong spot. So that'll be fixed this next year. But otherwise, clean audit. A big public thank you to Stephanie. She really headed up our audit this year and made sure that all the documents that the auditors were requesting were loaded into the drive so that they could see them. Because as if you don't know, the auditors work remotely now, so they're not on site. Yeah, so we upload everything to them and then they do the audit and Stephanie and crew, everyone that contributed to get everything in.
Yeah, and big thanks to our accounts payable gal, Diana. She did all the scanning and loading. So that takes a long time when you have, you know, a whole stack of bills to scan in. So she did a good job.
It seems like it shouldn't go unnoticed. A couple of highlights that are in the report here. First of all, congratulations on another clean audit. It seems like a really strong and longstanding tradition here at Selah, and that's a tribute to you, Chris, and your team. I know you're quick to point to everyone else, and Stephanie, you're certainly a big part of that now. But the two highlights there, it was noted by the auditor that Stephanie and Chris provided the audit items ahead of time. And of course, that just breeds efficiency and rapport, and I'm sure sets the stage for, you know, a real positive dialogue when you're, you know, proactive that way. And the second part was the district staff had great internal controls in place for the Essar grant and documentation. So that, I mean, that's an unusual pot of money sitting over there with a whole bunch of regulations, I'm sure that, you know, to manage that and have it in just exactly the right places, that's pretty impressive. So I think that's worth highlighting. And so congrats and kudos to you guys for that part.
Definitely a key component of the audit this year was the Essar funds. The auditors dug in deep on those expenditures to make sure we were in compliance. And it was a pleasure yesterday or was the day before at our fiscal meeting when we're with all of the fiscal business folks in the Valley, and a couple of them had some issues come out of their audit with their Essar funds. And I just felt really good about the structure that we've set in identifying what we're going to code to Essar. And there's a lot of collaboration that goes into that. Cabinet, we talk about that all the time. And we make sure that we're giving final approval of anything being coded to Essar. Nobody has the ability to just code things to the Essar budget. It has to come through us for approval. So it's been, I feel like we have a really tight process so we're in good shape there.
That's a good checkpoint right there.
Yeah.
Well, congrats again.
Thank you. Perfect segue into our Essar report. We wanted to,
No.
yes.
Just like we practiced, right?
We wanted to make sure and come to the board periodically about our Essar funds. It's a lot of money. In total, we have been awarded $8.7 million in Essar funds. And it's a topic of conversation all the time about with people in the community will come up to me at the golf course and talk, what are you doing with all that federal money? You know, so there's a lot of conversation around that about how it's.
Nice shot.
Yeah, nice shot. And they say, nice shot. Oh, tell me about that federal money that you're getting. No, actually, it's been a pleasure to talk about all the benefits that students are receiving from these funds. I mean, really, bottom line, you know, it's helping us address learning loss for kids. It's a big component of it. And it's fun speaking to that from this district because we've had great leadership in Shane and helping us collaborate as a cabinet about the use of these funds. And we engage in those conversations all the time. So it's good. So we wanted tonight to give you a highlight. So there's 3 buckets of money. If you'll remember, we talked a little bit about this in past meetings. So the first bucket they call the CARES ESSER one funds. We received $640,000. And we've spent all of those funds. That was really right after the pandemic hit, and we had to buy thousands of dollars of PPE. And we had a lot of hotspot service costs associated with that. We had device costs. We had a lot of things just directly impacting the school district by the pandemic. So we exhausted the $641,506. That was pot one. Online learning was part of that. We had some related staffing costs, additional hours and such to manage different components of the pandemic, the testing and such. And food service support required more. And of course, the technology component was another big portion of that 642,000. The second pot of money, ESSER two funds, we call those ESSER two. That pot of money was $2,479,000. So 2.4 million, almost $2.5 million. We have about $225,000 left in ESSER two money. We've again spent quite a bit of that money through summer school. Last year we spent other specific things under the addressing student learning loss with additional services for kids, different positions that interventionists, people that we've placed, additional counseling that we've placed in the district this past year. We spent money on those things, again, connectivity and device costs, additional PPE that came out of this budget. And also one of the things that the state allowed us to do with the COVID-2 money was to recover from our enrollment loss last year. You remember we had about $1.4 million in loss due to the enrollment decline. And the state allowed us to recover that money through the federal ESSER two money, which was wonderful because that was going to be a pretty substantial hit to the school district. So of the 2.5 million, 1.4 was spent to recover, and we had to code expenditures that way, and then we could recover it. So that was a big point in ESSER two. And then moving into ESSER three. So our ESSER three allocation was just under $5.6 million. And again, we don't get all this money up front. We spend and claim. So that's one of the reasons that our revenues lag a little bit is we haven't spent at the rate that we budgeted. We haven't spent to that rate on our COVID money. So we lag on that. We also lag on the claiming process. Stephanie's on it though. She's really good at getting all that stuff done timely on the claiming piece. So this amount of money, we received just under 5.6 million. We've expended we've expended just over $1 million. So as of end of March, we've spent just about 1.1 million. So we have about $4.5 million left in the ESSER pot of money. We have 4.5 million on ESSER three. So in total, we have 4.7 million on the last page of that report. You'll see 4.7 million total left in ESSER funds. And we're in the midst of starting to build budget, right? We're talking about staffing. We're talking about a lot of things, what summer school is going to look like, what, all these different components are going to look like. Also, we have our indoor air quality big project that's coming up in our schools to make sure that we're in compliance with the air exchanges that we have to have and all the filters and everything associated with that. That project itself will be over $300,000. That project was pre-approved by OSPI to come out of ESSER funds. So that project will come out of ESSER funds. We also recently received pre-approval by OSPI to help fill the gap on our early learning renovation. Our bid on, as you know, costs are skyrocketing, and the bids that we received on that project came in higher than anticipated, which is highly unusual for the history we've had here recently with our projects. We've just been so fortunate. But with the rising costs, we did end up in the negative, and OSPI did approve us to fill the gap with the ESSER funds. So we'll definitely be using probably maximum we would use out of the remaining ESSER funds, which hasn't been approved by ultimately by Shane or by the cabinet, is it could be upwards of 1 million between the shortage over here and the indoor air quality, potentially a little bit on the transportation cooperative if that project continues. So we have a lot of work to do around, we're working on the staffing component because the counselors, the 3 counselors, or actually the 4 counselors that we coded to Essar last year and this year, those will now be funded by the basic education formula because of the staffing allocations through the legislative process. So those are all rolling back into basic ed. And then we're looking at the different staffing components that we have in our current Essar budget and saying, okay, what's going to continue? Because we all know at the end of the 23-24 school year, Essar funds go away. And if we've committed those to staffing, ongoing staffing costs, there's a cliff at some point, right? That we're going to have to say we can't do that anymore. So Christy Arian out of Alicia's office has done a wonderful job thinking ahead on that because we've actually been able to take Essar coded people and now moving them into the categorical line. So thank you to Alicia and her team for helping us with that because that's what our goal is. We don't have a ton of staff coded to Essar, but we want to make sure at the end of this time, at the end of the bucket, that we don't have ongoing staffing costs. So that's what we're working on. But we're excited. I think the cabinet and all of us feel really good about where we're at with our Essar budget and what we have coming down. We still have a lot of things to do and student needs to address. And so that's what our focus is as we build our next year's budget.
And just to add on to that, especially Essar 3, we can spend this through the end of the 23-24 school year. So we still have a couple of years left in addition to this year.
Well, I thought it needed to be, it said be spent by 9/30 of 24.
Right.
23-24, so 9/30. We have an extra month after the 23-24 school year.
Oh, sure, okay, yep, because that ends.
That was a test.
That's school year thing again. That's school year thing again. Well, it sounds like through this process and through the pandemic, and now that we're emerging out of that and hopefully forever, that we discovered that there's some needed and essential positions and or programs or support that we want to retain and sustain going forward. And so I'm really happy to hear you say that you're looking for a place to slot those in now so that they become part of a district, normal district operations. There's probably some other parts of this where you go, okay, once this is over, we don't need those things anymore, right? And so
that's why the collaboration piece is so important because as from a fiscal standpoint, we couldn't sit in our offices and say, oh, we'll fund that position this year and that one. I mean, it takes all the conversation that we have around, okay, what's working? How do we want this to evolve? What's next with this? And it's really been beneficial to have those conversations on an ongoing basis.
It's very easy to spend the money on a project and then the money's gone and it's not necessarily something that. I was giving you my question before you address that is,
as usual.
we were two great minds thinking alike.
Good, all right. Thank you for that update. Appreciate that. And so now we'll move on to item 9 is our superintendent report. And so we will hear from Superintendent Backlund.
Yeah, thank you. So coming around is a document that is not in your packet. And Dan, I just shared a document with you if you have your email and able to pull it up. So as you know, we have had for actually going into this year would have been 13 years now with having student representatives to the board. And the pandemic caused some wrinkles in that. And then we also had just a young man who I have a lot of respect for, Daniel, who was really wanting to be a part of the board, but literally playing 3 sports and working 20 hours a week and going to school. It just didn't work for him. And he's the type of kid that I think exemplifies hard work, and yet he couldn't really be a part of this. And through that process of just, having a little bit of a pause in having a student representative or 2 student representatives, it just afforded us the opportunity to relook at it. And I think Jeff and I have had a couple conversations and talked to Jamie as well about, we really want to make sure that we're utilizing students when they come to these meetings in a meaningful way, and want to make sure it's not just a check the box for both sides. For us, just have student representation just to look great, and for them, not just a resume builder, right? So we wanted to make sure that we looked at how we've utilized the model before and look at moving forward with that. So Jamie and I had actually set up a time to meet with the Viking, or actually Thor's council at the high school, and that meeting got canceled. And then Jamie, I was at the high school 2 weeks ago, and I was in the building, and Colton said, "Hey, I have a Thor's council meeting in 15 minutes. Do you want to come?" And I was like, "Sure." Yeah. So I went and spoke to the group, and I had actually started putting this document together prior to that. And so I had a great opportunity to kind of test drive it with the students there. They had about 20 students there that day. And so I went through this with them, and I really went through the goals and the roles and responsibilities. And what I wanted to just highlight those. And so you have that in front of you. And I did some legwork with other districts and kind of looking at what they, how they utilize student reps, looked at some past documents from the WASDA conference and that kind of thing to help come up with the goals and the roles and responsibilities. And I really wanted them to dig into the roles and responsibilities and give us some feedback on that. And you'll notice that there's a few different things on there. Really what we do want, if we're going to make this a position that is meaningful on both ends, we want to make sure that they're able to attend, right? So that's one of the stipulations that we put in the roles and responsibilities. And I talked to Principal Monty and some advisors there. And, if once a month they are having to come to school late because they are attending the 7 a.m. meeting, that's fine. We can get them excused for that one period for that day so that they can actually be a part of the study sessions and be there. So I think that is one meaningful piece that we have not had since we moved to the 7 a.m. meetings. Those students generally have not come to that piece. The other thing is, the 4:30 meeting does discount some athletes, which is, that's just another piece to think about. However, I think it might open a broader range of student that maybe wants to be a part of it. So, but they didn't balk at the 4:30 time. The one piece I did add, being a member of Thor's council, that was some feedback we got from them, because then there's a kind of a direct connection between Colton's advisory group at the high school and the board, right? It's not necessarily on ASB, because Thor's council is made up of ASB students and other students. It's a wide representation of students. So it kind of provides a little bit more of a broader net of students that are on Thor's council. So not just speaking to ASB kids, but a wider net. So, and then lastly, this is something that Jeff had heard at one of his WASDA sessions around student representatives, was to take on a project of interest and to really dig in on that and update the board over the course of the year. And, it doesn't have to be huge, but it could be something they're passionate about, that they talk about the board with initially and then take that on. They could do it collaboratively as the two members, or they could do it individually. That's something you guys could decide as the year approaches. And on a side note, I did again talk to Kevin about this a little bit this morning. You have not had in your prior districts a student representative. So I know he's excited about the opportunity, just trying to all of us work together to figure out how it could be done well. So, those are the pieces that I put in place as roles and responsibilities for your kind of input and blessing tonight. And then I put a process together. And one of the things we'd like to do is, along with this process, is work with Heidi Diner to really create some posters and some marketing materials to get out to the school. In the past, we've done it through advisory period. We've done it in the morning announcements. And I think it just kind of goes in one ear and out the other for kids, really honestly. And so we want to market it a little bit better. And the high school admin team, and they're committed to helping with that process as well. I think it's a good opportunity to kind of reimagine this and reinvigorate it. So I laid out a sample timeline, and we can adjust this. I just wanted to put one together that I thought would be doable if we were able to get the application out, which is, the application is pretty simple. And I've looked at other applications, and that remains the kind of trend, is that we're really looking for a handful of things, why they want to be a part of the board, some of the activities they're involved in, that we want recommendations from 2 to 3 teachers and that kind of thing. So the application process itself is not it's not as big of a part of the process as I believe the interviews could be, which is a new component that I'm recommending to have the interested candidates actually come in and interview with the board. And I don't know what would that look like. I've got some ideas just from talking with other districts, but I recommended on this potentially using the June 9th study session as an opportunity to, depending on the number of applicants, right? We could see the applicants, hopefully we have a lot and we could screen it down to our top 4 to 6, whatever you want to do. And then maybe hold 15 to 30-minute interviews during the study session that day and then select 2 when we need for this upcoming year, because now we're off cycle a little bit. We need an incoming junior and an incoming senior. The junior would spend a 2-year term, right? So with that, I just want to open it for discussion and see what your thoughts were.
Good, thank you for putting this together.
Yeah.
Great place to start, for sure.
Yeah.
Does Thor's Council run as a board? Do they have a president, vice president?
It's just an open advisory council, no positions.
And ASB does though, right?
ASB does, right?
Do they run it with Robert rules?
Proper rules of order? I think loosely,
I had
yes.
the word engagement in my
Yes.
Robert rules of order.
Yeah.
So that might be something too, as a student that's involved in either Thor's or ASB can kind of help make sure that they're tightly following.
Mhm.
It's like that kind of culture. I like this, so it's good.
I know when I talked with Natalie Keller, she's a junior at the high school and she writes for the Unleashed program for the Yakima Herald. She's interviewed me twice now and wrote articles on various topics. And I asked her, because we had kind of talked about this process, about a student rep on the board, and she was familiar with it and was very interested in knowing more about it. And I asked her, I said, so, in the past, the student rep is, they've given us sort of an update on what goes on at the high school and activities in the district and, things about their personal activities and things that are going on in their student life and that kind of thing. I said, what do you think about reaching out to some of the other campuses in the district and learning about what's going on at the Kinder campus and John Campbell and that's this? And she goes, oh, that's a great idea. I said, then we got to get a little flavor of everything from all the students across the district. So
Yeah.
that might be a component.
I
to add or think about.
I incorporated that in number 2 on roles and responsibilities.
Well, I didn't have a whole long time to read it.
Oh, I know. So it says, report to the board updates and or highlights for each school periodically. So set quarterly meetings with each building principal and or student representative group to learn about important items students.
I went through all of that and you just let me die.
Well, I wanted you to know that I was listening to you, right?
Oh.
I was listening, yeah. I heard you.
Duly noted.
I want you to feel comfortable.
Anyway, I think she would be she would be interested in applying.
Great.
Yeah, great young lady.
And, again, this doesn't have to be perfect right now. We can start with this and as the students come on and it's going to evolve, right? But I think getting it going again is an important piece.
All right, any other comments, questions, additions? Joe?
My only concern was, I think this looks great. The timeline, if this is something we want to pull off this year before the end of the school year, we need to
Yeah.
get on it, be
they're-
proactive. And I was just
Yeah.
thinking, is there a way that we as a board could help expedite the process?
Yeah, I thought about that a little bit too. I mean, there is nothing, in the past, we've done it in September and they've started in October. One of the pieces of feedback we got, there's not, we really, in theory, probably should have done this in March. The end of the year and the beginning of the year for everybody is challenging time. So, yeah, but I'm open to that. I mean, this is a process that you could do. You could extend it longer. I started thinking about timelines on things. And so when we post jobs to the outside, we give people 2 weeks to apply. So if we get this posted next week, they'll have 4 weeks really almost to get in a pretty simple application and give us some time to market it a little bit too. So I thought about both things, right? We could spread it out or we could try this expedited timeline and see how it goes. And if we don't get the candidates, we don't get enough candidates, you could extend the period of time, I guess.
Right, right. So who, in the past, who's been the lead at the high schools? Has it been Michelle or?
No, Michelle has not really been, when she's been loosely involved, but it's really been the administrators and the counselors. And we have a new crop of counselors this year as well, so.
So if we were to get the word out through them,
Mhm.
you know, with some sort of a flyer or some communication, spread the word, and I think if we have a 2-week application process.
Yeah, I think we could have up to if we get it out by, let's say even by the end of next week, we would have 3 solid weeks of the application process to be out there.
It feels doable. We're looking for, how many of our candidates we get, but
Yeah.
we're looking for
Number
two.
2.
One that's going to be a senior and going to be a junior. So it's not like we're asking a senior to, their heads are, I can tell you, their heads are somewhere besides the high school right now. The seniors are, that senioritis thing sitting. But juniors and sophomores are still engaged, and I bet we'll draw some interest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can give it a shot and see how it works. And again, we
Anybody
do
out
that. We do that sometimes too. If we don't have applicants for a job, we'll keep it open for a while. Just,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah, good.
okay. Okay,
Is there an online application
yeah,
template already out there?
yeah, it's, I can't remember the district. We got it from another district 5 or 6 years ago. Yeah, there is, I can't remember where we got it from, but it's a Google form. So we give them a link, or we're gonna put a QR code on the promotional materials we have so that kids could scan it and do the application that
I
way.
saw this on the agenda, so I had the documents from that WASDA session that I picked up. I
Yep.
still have those.
Yep, I have those as well. Yep. Okay.
I like it.
All right, I'll move forward on that, and I'll work with Kevin on it as well. 2 more things on mine, the WASDA training. So as you guys know, the CCDEI, Cultural Competency, Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Training that's required for all board members. That law went into effect last year. And so just, I wanted to update you today. And this is something I'll work with Kevin and Tierra on a little bit, but really the timeline is to have it done within your 4-year term. And if you're new to the board, within the first 2 years. So, and it's about a 6-hour piece, but so the reason I'm bringing this to you tonight is just WASDA did a presentation to our superintendent group a couple of weeks ago. They have created online modules that are, they're broken down by different components, and they're easily accessible, whether you wanted to do it collectively, individually. That's one piece. And the second piece is they're offering the entire course in person a few times. One of them will be always at the WASDA conference, which is the conference in November. So there'll always be that there. So you could attend and meet that requirement at that point. You could do it online. You could do it at one of the regional opportunities they're going to have next year. So I'm only bringing that up now to put it on your radar. It's not something that we have to jump on at this moment, but again, working with Kevin and Terry, you'll probably want to work out as a board how you want to do that. But just knowing that the resources that were presented to us a little while back, I dug into them a little bit, and they're good. So you have some opportunities for choice there. But
The rule is that by the end of an individual board member's term, that has to be completed.
yeah,
Or in Joe's case.
within the first 2 years, right? Yep.
And there's no rule that says that we have to do it all as a group. We can do them individually.
Right, and you don't have to do it all at one time either. So you could break it up, and I didn't start one of the modules. I read the content. So I believe, Kevin, do you remember? I think an hour each. Each module is an hour, right? And so,
How many modules are there?
well, there are 3 that are the basic fundamental ones that everybody takes, and then there's like 5 or 6 after that, and you can just choose 3 others that are of interest to you.
6 hours total.
Yeah.
3 required and 3
Yeah, 6. Yeah, 6 quite.
like enrolling in school. You got to be quiet.
3 electives. Yeah, 3 electives and 3. Yeah.
So
anyway,
6 hours.
yeah. So anyway, again, I wanted to make sure that we didn't forget about that and put it on your radars moving forward. And probably a good idea to, sometime this summer, early fall, just to have a plan or an idea of how the board wants to accomplish that within the next year or so. And since Joe will have to do it, I think it does make some good sense to try to do it somewhat collectively, unless people are going to the WASDA conference and just want to knock it out in one day there. So.
Do you know if it was the conference, if it's a pre-conference?
I think it is a pre-conference. I don't know that for sure. I think, yeah, actually, and over the course of the 2.5 days, right? So they're going to offer a lot of opportunity. Right. Yep.
Difficult would it be to, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah.
I think we see it in our daily eclipse that we get.
Yeah.
Listed there.
Yep.
How difficult would it be to just put together a little summary sheet on what the options are and potential?
Well, I can, Tara's looking back, and like, no, I can put that together, but there's a link, and we can get you the link initially, and the link lays everything out pretty nicely. And also, I think the link also has the some of the regional opportunities. Are you looking at it, Tara? Oh, it's perfect. Good. Okay.
I would think if you can send us that link. Just
Yeah, we'll get it out to you.
And then let's
Revisit it at another meeting.
collectively decide, okay, what's our target date to be completed? Hey, we got a teacher in the room. Dan, what would you say? How do we tackle this assignment?
I'm glad there's a link for us to look at. And I, as you were talking about it, I thought doing it at the WASDA conference made a lot of sense for me, at least. But I don't know about what those regional opportunities are.
Okay. All right. Last thing I have tonight is the May study session on May 12th. That is going to be the board and principal roundtable with the secondary admin. So we'll have Joe, Colton, and Mark there, and maybe some of their admin team if they choose. So similar format to the elementary. Obviously, secondary differs from elementary in terms of how they present, and probably not cute PowerPoints and whatnot, but really looking at, again, what are the strengths of what's happening, some of the successes and strengths, what are some of the challenges, and what can the board do to support, are kind of the 3 questions we've always gone with the last few years, and they're preparing for that now. So I just wanted to put that on your radar that we'll have them here on May 12th at 7 a.m.
May 12th. That'll be the high school.
High school, the academy, and then Selah Middle School. That's it for me tonight.
Okay, great. Can we go back to one of the WASDA things? There is a regional meeting next week.
Right. I thought you might do that in your report, but maybe not.
Well, no, I did. I'm reading it ahead of myself. It's the next thing up, Board of Communications. Okay, here we go. So thank you, Shane. Appreciate the update on all that. We're on to board communications. It's an opportunity for the board to share anything that they would like to about district or otherwise. So I would open it up to anyone that would like to share. So I will say that.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Dan.
I just wanted to add 2 quick things. First, I wanted to note that the Essar funds, while they are a topic of conversation that we hear about in the community, are also, I think, the result of the state and federal legislators act. We sometimes think that they don't do anything or they're not moving quickly enough. They really did act quickly to support the needs of local communities, including in Selah. So I'm glad that our legislators, both state and federal, worked there to provide those funds for us. And the second point is the conversation we were just having about the training for board members on diversity and equity and inclusion. That's, to me, seems like a real positive sign of what progress looks like. I know our board has been committed to equity for years, as is our district. But going through this formal training, as kind of bureaucratic as it sounds, is also how we take steps forward. So it's 6 hours that I think is going to be well spent, and hopefully we'll be able to do it together as a board.
Good. Thank you, Dan. Good points. Well, I guess I'll just mention, I'm going to go back to our superintendent search process, and again, just emphasize how appreciative the board is of the engagement by staff, and the input and the feedback that we got with all three candidates. It was a lot of work, but it was something that we as a board didn't want to make as a, just as a board in a silo. And so we truly appreciate all of the input from staff and community at the forums. That was huge for us in our final deliberations. And so I think we were all pretty wiped by the end of that week. We had a lot of notes, we had a lot of conversation, but all of that input was really, really valuable. So thank you to the public and for staff, and in particular to Tiara for capturing ideas and thoughts from classified, and to Chris for being our point person for certified, and the other groups in the districts. That was really big. So thank you so much for that. The second thing that I would like to share is next week, there is a WASDA regional meeting. It's in Hera, as I understand, at their brand new elementary school. I've signed up to go. I don't know who else. Is there anybody? You and me? Okay, so we're going to go. We haven't been to one for a while, well, because of COVID and all that other stuff. And so I'm anxious to see that. So we'll coordinate our details. So we'll maybe be able to report back to everybody at the next board communication. That's all I have. Okay, anything else? Good of the order? All right, well, according to my agenda, we're at the end of everything we need to talk about. So if that was it, I will wish everyone a great evening, and we will see you at our next board meeting. Welcome again, Kevin. And this meeting is adjourned.